I was standing at my kitchen sink when Linda walked in with that look. You know the one. The careful, practiced expression that says she's about to deliver bad news but wants to seem reasonable about it. "Robert," she said, and I could hear it already in her voice. "We need to talk about Thanksgiving." I kept washing my coffee mug. 38 years of marriage teaches you when to brace yourself. "Jennifer and Mark think—" She paused, started again. "We all think it might be better if you sat this one out, just this year." I set the mug down slowly. Sat it out. "You know how you get at these family things. Last year you and Mark argued about the election for an hour. Jennifer said you made comments about her parenting. Thomas barely spoke to you at Christmas." "Thomas barely speaks to anyone. He's on his phone the whole time." "See?" Linda's voice went tight. That's what I'm talking about. You're so critical of everyone. The kids feel like they're walking on eggshells around you. They want Thanksgiving to be pleasant for once." I turned off the water, dried my hands on the towel we got in Vermont 20 years ago. "So, I'm not invited to Thanksgiving at Jennifer's house." "It's not that you're not invited. We just think maybe you could use the time to relax. You've been stressed with work anyway. I'll go for the day, and you can have the house to yourself. Order whatever you want. Watch football. It might be nice." "And you're okay with this? Going without me?" Something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe. But she pushed through it. "I think we all need a little space, just for one day." That was 3 weeks ago. I spent Thanksgiving alone, ordered Chinese food, watched the Lions lose. Linda came home around 9, full of stories about how wonderful everything was, how relaxed everyone seemed, how Thomas actually put his phone down and talked about his new job.
"See?" she said, kissing my cheek. "Sometimes a little distance helps." I didn't tell her what I'd been working on for the past 7 months. I've been a mechanical engineer for 42 years. Started at Morrison Industries right out of college, worked my way up to senior design engineer before the company restructured 3 years ago, and I took early retirement. Not forced, exactly, but strongly encouraged. At 63, they wanted younger, cheaper talent. The kids acted like it was a death sentence. Mark told me I should embrace the rest and enjoy my golden years. Jennifer suggested I take up golf. Thomas didn't say anything at all. Linda tried to be supportive, but I could see it in her eyes. Like I'd become less. Like retirement meant I'd stopped mattering. I hadn't. For the past 7 months, I'd been working in my garage workshop every morning from 5 to noon. I told Linda I was organizing things, building shelves, working on the old Camaro I'd been restoring since the 80s. She'd stopped asking what I was doing out there around month 3. What I was actually doing was solving a problem that had bothered me for 25 years. Back in the 90s, I'd worked on industrial ventilation systems. There was a fundamental inefficiency in how HVAC systems handled airflow in large facilities. They either blasted air constantly, wasting energy, or cycled on and off, creating temperature inconsistencies. The smart systems that tried to adjust were expensive, clunky, and still inefficient. I'd proposed a solution to Morrison back in 1998. They'd said it was too complex, too expensive to develop, too much risk for uncertain reward. They shelved it. But I never stopped thinking about it. Retirement gave me time, and modern technology gave me tools I hadn't had in the 90s. Microcontrollers, sensors that cost dollars instead of thousands, 3D printing for rapid prototyping. I built it. A dynamic airflow management system that used predictive algorithms and real-time sensor networks to optimize HVAC efficiency.
It could reduce energy consumption by 40 to 60%, depending on the facility. I'd tested it on my own house first. Our utility bills dropped by half. Linda noticed, commented on it, then assumed the power company had screwed up our meter. Then I contacted an old colleague from Morrison. Carl had left years ago and started his own building management consultancy. I showed him what I'd built. "Jesus, Robert," he'd said, watching the system operate. "Do you understand what this is?" "An efficient HVAC controller. This is a retrofit solution for every commercial building in North America. Hospitals, hotels, office buildings, warehouses. Everyone's trying to cut energy costs and reduce carbon footprints. You've actually solved it."
He introduced me to some people, engineers, investors, facility managers. I gave demonstrations, refined the design. By October, I had 3 companies interested. The Friday after Thanksgiving, I signed a licensing deal with North Star Building Systems. $8.2 million for the core patents, plus royalties on every unit installed. They wanted to move fast, get it to market before competitors could catch up. Carl called that night. "Robert, you beautiful bastard, you did it. You actually did it." I sat in my garage looking at the workbench covered in circuit boards and notebooks, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Useful. I didn't tell Linda right away. The money would hit our account in 2 weeks, but the contracts included an NDA until North Star's public announcement. I figured I'd tell her when I could tell her everything. Then Thomas called at 12:47 a.m. on Saturday. "Dad?" His voice was strange. "Dad, are you awake?" "I am now." "What's wrong?" He paused. "Are you working with North Star Building Systems?" I sat up in bed. Linda stirred beside me. "How do you know about that?" "Dad, it's on TechNews right now. North Star acquires revolutionary HVAC technology from retired engineer Robert Morrison." "That's you. Dad, they're calling it a game changer. They're saying it could revolutionize commercial building efficiency." I grabbed my phone, pulled up TechNews. There was my name, my technology. The article called it one of the most significant advances in building management systems in 2 decades. "Dad, did you really? How long have you been working on this?" "About 7 months." 7 months? Just you? Just me. Linda was awake now, leaning over to look at my phone. I watched her face as she read the article. Watched the confusion, the shock, the slow understanding. "Robert," she whispered. $8 million? 8.2, I said. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried to. Remember when I invited you out to the garage back in June? You said you were busy with your book club. When I mentioned I was working on something interesting in August, you said that was nice and went back to your phone." She looked stricken.
"I thought you were just tinkering."
"I was," I said. "Turns out tinkers sometimes solve problems." Thomas was still on the phone. "Dad, this is incredible. I can't believe you... this is huge." "Thanks, son." "Can I..." He hesitated. "Can I call you tomorrow? I'd like to hear about it, how you built it, everything." "Sure," I said. "I'd like that." We hung up. Linda was still staring at the article. "You did this," she said. While you all decided I wasn't worth including in Thanksgiving." She flinched. "Robert, I'm sorry. We didn't understand. We thought you were just, I don't know, lost, like retirement had made you irrelevant." "I know what you thought." "I'm proud of you," she said.
but her voice was hollow. She knew those words came too late, arrived only after the proof was public. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Jennifer first.
Dad! Oh my God, Dad! I saw the news! I called Mom and she told me everything. This is amazing! Why didn't you say anything?
You didn't ask.
I know, but I mean, you could have told us you were working on something important.
Would you have listened? Silence. Then,
I would have. Of course I would have.
Jennifer, last time I tried to talk about engineering at dinner, you told me nobody wanted to hear about boring work stuff and changed the subject to Thomas's girlfriend.
That was... I didn't mean it like that.
Yes, you did. Mark called an hour later. Dad, this is incredible. Seriously, I had no idea you were capable of something like this. I've been capable my whole life, Mark. I've been an engineer for 42 years. I know, but I meant at your age, still innovating like this. It's inspiring. At my age, I repeated. Dad, come on. You know what I meant. This is good news. Can we get together this week? I'd love to hear about the project. Maybe I could help with the business side of things. I have experience with licensing deals. It's already done. Well, future deals then. This is just the beginning, right? Mom said something about royalties. You might need someone to help manage things. Families should stick together on this stuff. I told him I'd think about it and hung up. Linda was watching me from the kitchen doorway. They're excited for you. They're excited about the money. That's not fair. Isn't it? 3 weeks ago, I wasn't worth inviting to Thanksgiving. Now Mark wants to help me manage my royalties. You think that timing is coincidental? She came over, sat down across from me. I know how this looks. I know we hurt you. But Robert, they're still your children. They love you. They love what I've become. They love the validation. They love that I'm interesting again now that I've proven I'm not just some washed-up old man organizing his garage. Is that really how you see it? I met her eyes. Linda, you told me the kids wanted space from me. You went to Thanksgiving without me. You didn't fight for me. You didn't tell them I was your husband, and if I wasn't welcome, neither were you. You chose them over me. Tears started down her face. I thought I was helping. I thought you needed space too. I needed my family to believe I still mattered. You do matter. You've always mattered. Then why didn't you come to the garage when I asked? Why didn't you listen when I tried to tell you about what I was working on? Why did you just assume I was filling time instead of doing something important? She didn't have an answer. Over the next few days, everyone wanted to talk. Jennifer invited us to dinner. Mark suggested a family meeting to celebrate the win. Thomas called 3 more times, actually engaged and curious about the engineering details. I agreed to a family dinner that Saturday. Linda was relieved, hopeful that things could go back to normal. But I wasn't interested in normal. They were all there when we arrived at Jennifer's house. Her husband Paul was suddenly interested in talking to me about his company's HVAC systems. Mark brought up business opportunities 5 times in the first hour. Thomas actually put his phone away. During dinner, Jennifer cleared her throat. Dad, we all wanted to say we're sorry about Thanksgiving. We handled that badly. Very badly, Mark added. We didn't understand what you were going through, Jennifer continued. What you were working on. We made assumptions. You did, I said. So we want to make it up to you. We want to be more involved. Support what you're doing. Mark leaned forward. Actually, Dad, I've been thinking about this a lot. This HVAC system is just the beginning. You could expand the technology, build a company around it, With the right team, the right business structure. Let me stop you there, I said. I'm not building a company. But Dad, the potential. I spent 42 years in the corporate world. I'm not interested in doing it again. Then what will you do? Jennifer asked. I'm going to keep inventing, keep solving problems. Maybe license more patents, maybe just work on things that interest me. The money means I can do what I want without worrying about whether it's profitable. But we could help, Thomas said. I mean, I work in tech now. I could maybe help with the software side of things if you develop more systems. I looked at my youngest son, 29 years old. He'd barely spoken to me in years. Now he wanted to collaborate. Thomas, when's the last time you asked me about my work? He blinked. I don't know. It was 7 years ago. You were 22, home from college for Christmas. You asked what I was working on at Morrison. I started to tell you about a project and you interrupted me after 30 seconds to show me a meme on your phone. You never asked again. Dad, I was a kid. You were 22, and you decided engineering was boring. Now it's interesting because there's money attached. The table went quiet. Linda put her hand on mine. Robert, they're trying. I know they are, now. But where was this interest 6 months ago, a year ago? When I took early retirement and everyone acted like my career was something to politely not mention. When I tried to talk about ideas and projects and got told I was being too technical or too intense, or just got changed the subject at. We made mistakes, Jennifer said softly. We know that. But you're our father. We love you. We want to be part of your life. Then be part of my life when I'm not successful. Be interested when I'm working on something that might fail. Show up when there's no money and no recognition, and nothing but an old man in his garage trying to solve a problem nobody else cares about. Mark shook his head. That's not fair. You kept this secret. You didn't tell us what you were working on. I tried. You weren't listening. None of you were. And honestly, I stopped wanting to share with people who made me feel small. We never meant to make you feel small, Jennifer said, crying now. But you did. All of you did, and Linda did. You decided I was difficult, opinionated, past my prime. You decided family gatherings would be better without me. You decided I wasn't worth the effort. Paul, Jennifer's husband, spoke up for the first time. Robert, I think what they're trying to say is they see that now. They see how they took you for granted, and they want to change. I looked at Paul. Decent guy. Good father to my grandchildren.
He'd always been polite to me, if distant.
Paul, do you know why I stayed home at Thanksgiving?
They said you were stressed with retirement.
I was uninvited. Linda told me the kids thought it would be easier if I didn't come, that I was too critical, too difficult, too much. And instead of telling them that was unacceptable, that I was her husband and their father, and I deserved respect regardless of whether they found me convenient, she agreed with them.
Linda was crying now too.
I was wrong. Robert, I was so wrong. You were. And I spent Thanksgiving alone for the first time in 38 years because my family decided I wasn't worth including. That's not something that gets fixed because I made money. That's something that has to be rebuilt from nothing. The dinner ended quietly, uncomfortable. Linda cried the whole drive home. I don't know how to fix this, she said when we got to the house. Neither do I. Do you want to fix it? I thought about that. About whether I wanted to go back to family dinners where I felt like a burden they tolerated. About whether success should erase how they'd made me feel. About whether love means anything if it only shows up after validation. I want them to prove they've changed, I said finally. I want them to show interest in what I'm doing, even if it's not profitable or impressive. I want them to include me because I'm their father, not because I'm suddenly useful. I want you to choose me, even when it's difficult. How do I prove that? I don't know. But Linda, I spent 7 months working on something important while you assumed I was wasting time. I ate Chinese food alone on Thanksgiving while you enjoyed dinner with our children who didn't want me there. I succeeded without any of you noticing I was even trying. It's a pretty big failure on your part. On all your parts. She nodded slowly. So what happens now? Now, I keep working.
Now I decide whether I want to let people back in who only showed up after I proved I was worth their time. Over the next few weeks, they tried. Jennifer called twice a week just to talk, not about the money or the business, but about regular things. Mark toned down the business pitches and asked about my process, my methodology, actually listened to the answers. Thomas stopped by the garage one Saturday and spent 3 hours watching me work on a new prototype, asking questions, taking notes. Linda started coming to the garage with coffee in the mornings, sitting on the old stool in the corner, not talking, just being present, showing me she cared about what I was doing, even when she didn't fully understand it. "What's this one?" she asked one morning, watching me solder connections on a circuit board. "Water management system for commercial irrigation. Could reduce water waste by 40%. Is it worth money?" "I don't know. I don't really care. It's interesting to solve." She smiled at that. "That's what I've been missing, isn't it? You don't do this for money or recognition. You do it because you can't not do it." "I'm an engineer. Problems bother me until I solve them." "I should have seen that. Should have known you were still you, still brilliant, still driven. Retirement didn't change that." "But you assumed it did." "I assumed a lot of things. That you were lost, that you needed to find hobbies to fill time, that age meant slowing down and accepting less." She set her coffee down. "I was wrong about all of it." "You were." "Can you forgive me?" I looked at my wife, 61 years old. We'd built a life together, raised 3 children, weathered careers and losses, and the slow drift that happens when people stop seeing each other clearly. "I'm trying," I said honestly. "But Linda, you broke something when you chose them over me. When you decided I was too difficult to include." "That's not something that just heals." "I know, but I'm here now, every morning, choosing you." "It took a lot of money for you to make that choice." "No," she said firmly. "It took me almost losing you to realize I'd stopped choosing you a long time ago. The money just made it obvious." We sat in silence for a while. The smell of solder, the hum of my equipment, the winter light coming through the garage window. "I'm going to keep doing this," I said finally. "Working on things. Some will make money, most won't. I'm not going back to being the retired guy who golfs and fills time. This is who I am." "I know. And I'm going to be the wife who shows up, who listens, who doesn't assume your work is less important because you're not doing it in an office anymore." "Okay." "Okay? It's a start." She smiled, reached over and squeezed my hand. "A start is more than we had a month ago." On Christmas Eve, we hosted dinner at our house. First time in years. I made it clear. I'd be there. I'd participate. And if anyone had a problem with my opinions or my presence, they could leave. Nobody left. Mark asked me about the irrigation project.
Thomas helped me demonstrate the HVAC system to his girlfriend. Jennifer's kids wanted to see Grandpa's workshop and spent an hour asking me questions about how things worked. Linda stayed close all evening, not hovering, just present. When Mark started to pitch another business idea, she gently redirected the conversation. When Jennifer mentioned being stressed about work, she suggested Jennifer ask me about time management techniques I'd used during deadline crunches. After everyone left, Linda and I sat in the living room with the tree lights on and the house quiet. "That was nice," she said. It was. Different from last year. Very different from last year. She looked at me. "Are we going to be okay, Robert?" "I think so. Eventually. It's going to take time."
There's still anger I'm working through. Still hurt that doesn't just go away because everyone says sorry.
I understand.
But I want to try. I want to believe people can change. That my family can see me for who I am, not who they assume I should be at 63.
"You're remarkable," she said quietly.
I forgot that. Got comfortable. Took you for granted. But you're remarkable, and I'm lucky you're giving me a chance to remember that. I pulled her close. 38 years. A lot of good, some bad, and a Thanksgiving that showed me exactly where I stood when I wasn't useful. I'm not going to forget what happened, I said. The money doesn't erase it. The apologies don't undo it.
I know.
But I'm going to try to forgive it. Because family is supposed to mean something even when it's hard, even when people fail you. Even when you spend Thanksgiving alone eating Chinese food while everyone else celebrates without you. She held me tighter. I'll spend every Thanksgiving with you for the rest of our lives. Whether you're successful or struggling or just tinkering in the garage. You're my husband. That should have been enough.
It should have been.
It is now. I promise it is now.
We sat there while the tree lights blinked and the house settled, and somewhere in the garage my next project waited to be solved. I didn't know if my family had really changed, or if they'd slip back into old patterns when the novelty wore off. I didn't know if Linda would keep showing up on mornings when I was working on something boring and unprofitable. But I knew I'd never again mistake silence for peace, or acceptance for respect. I knew my worth wasn't tied to money or recognition, or whether people found me convenient. I was an engineer. I solved problems. That was enough, whether they saw it or not.